Good morning, Mitch. Thank
Good
you so
morning.
much. Thanks for joining us, agreeing to do our monthly spotlight interview.
It's my pleasure, Tom. Thank you for inviting me.
I think you and I have talked about this, and I'm going to just say that really the two objectives we have for these interviews are first to recognize people like yourself with Catholic Charities for the tremendous work that you do and the contribution to our community. And I think it'll be informative for our board, which is our second objective for these interviews, is simply to inform the members of our Lake County Board of Advisors. My hope is that in hearing your story and hearing about your program, that some of the members of our board will see that there's an opportunity to bring their resources of time or effort, their connections, et cetera, in support of your program. And so maybe to start, tell me a little bit about yourself. Let's start with your program, and just tell us a little bit about yourself and your history.
Well, I spent 32 years in sales and marketing in the experiential marketing industry, trade shows and museum exhibits and product launches. And primarily, I lived in San Francisco and worked primarily in Silicon Valley during the 80s and 90s. And early 2000s, and then retired and was living out here in Waukegan, and went to work at the, was volunteering at the Waukegan Public Library. They hired me to set up a marketing and exhibit department, which I did, and then was there for a few years. And then was volunteering at the vocational rehab unit at Lovell Federal Healthcare Center, the VA hospital in North Chicago, and met the person from Catholic Charities that was doing this. And he had only started a few months before, but found he had to leave and asked me if I was interested. So I applied and got the job. And actually, this past Wednesday, March 4th, was my 7-year work anniversary. So
Congratulations.
It's been, well, thank you. It's really been wonderful, and a very wonderful opportunity for me to give back to the community. But when I started, what I found out is that no one really knew that Catholic Charities had anything to do with the veterans community, much less, and my program is the Veterans Employment Program. So I help veterans and their family members find employment, but no one knew or even thought that Catholic Charities did employment counseling in any capacity. So as I was getting into the job, I realized that I had to put my former marketing hat back on and start branding this program in the local community. So I went out to meet as many people in the veteran service community as I could, and let them know about the Catholic Charities Veterans Employment Program. And over the years, I ended up working very closely with folks at the Federal Healthcare Center and other veterans organizations in the community as their employment counselor, and would get referrals from them. And it just turned into a very wonderful program that has helped a lot of veterans over the years.
Mitch, we live in we haven't seen a pandemic or a situation like we have going on today in probably 100 years. And I'm curious how the pandemic has impacted your program or programs. Can you shed a little light on that for us?
Sure. Well, as you know, everything pretty much shut down last March, about a year ago. And that included Catholic Charities offices. So I was not permitted to have face-to-face contact with clients. any longer. So I had to reestablish relationships over the phone and revise my methodology of helping veterans with their resumes and job search and interview skills over the phone instead of in face-to-face meetings, going over documents and other techniques that I've used that have been successful. So that was one big change. The other big change was the number of veterans that I would meet. In the past, I had set up with colleagues at the VA the Employment Readiness Workshop for the Homeless Veterans Program and the Transitional Residence Program for veterans coming out of long-term substance abuse programs, helping them get back on their feet and get employed. And so they had shut down all of their programs. No one was allowed in or out, more or less. And so essentially the stream of people I was meeting was cut severely. So then I would, social workers, other veterans organizations would then call me with referrals. But still, I just wasn't meeting the same number of people. In fact, from the beginning of fiscal year 2021 in last July through February, I did intakes on 45 new veterans and their family members and found employment for 29 from my client list. But that's probably about maybe a little less than half of what I would normally do during that same time frame. So, there's just not the opportunity to meet as many veterans, as I had in the past in going out to job fairs or the classes or any of the other venues, where I could go out and meet the vets and let them know about our program. So
go ahead, sir.
No, I was going to say that's been the significant part.
Well, I've had the opportunity to be in the room when you're doing some of the meetings with veterans and doing intake, and that face-to-face interaction, that personal interaction, the empathy that you show toward the veteran who is looking for employment, who may feel vulnerable or overwhelmed, is a big part of their experience in terms of gaining employment. And that's got to be hard, not only for you, but I can only imagine the impact on the veterans not having that personal touch that seems so important in that interaction.
Yeah, and I agree with you, and I do want to mention that you have been a wonderful and dedicated volunteer in my program for several years now, so that's much appreciated. And yes, and you really hit the nail on the head. You do lose that personal touch, but you have to make it up on the phone. You have to still project that empathy and try and understand from the veteran's point of view, what his obstacles and barriers may be and how to overcome them, and to give him or her the tools to be successful in finding employment. I found out through my work with the various programs at Lovell that employment is a significant part of the mental health treatment that the VA has laid down as a regimen for veterans' mental health. And I was fortunate enough to be invited 4 years in a row to speak at the VA Mental Health Summit that they had in the past up at Lovell. And the VA is really committed to the overall well-being of the veterans, and their mental health is a huge part of that. And it's also a huge part that I found out and learned about in suicide prevention for veterans, because, you know, getting them employed, getting them on their feet, getting their sense of self-worth that comes from successful employment is really an important part of, you know, what I've been doing and what I've been able to do with, along with my great team of volunteers.
I'm so glad you highlighted that, because it is the you know, that you have the basic needs that people have in terms of food and shelter, et cetera, but to move to really to gain the, you know, make steps in self-esteem and self-worth, of employment, a meaningful employment is vital.
Yes, yes, it is. And, you know, and some of the other barriers I found out that, you know, hold veterans back from employment. In Lake County, the public transportation system is terrible in general, you know, in order to get people to employment. So one of the things I started about 3.5, 4 years ago is the Catholic Charities Veterans Bike Project. And I would get donated bikes, have volunteers that knew how to fix them, work on them, fix them up, get them ready and safe to ride, and give them away to vets to help them get either to a bus stop, throw the bike on the bus, take the bus to, you know, a you know, close to their work, and then be able to ride there, you know, what, 8 or 9 months of the year. And then our wonderful community partners from AbbVie, their employment readiness, or the employment resource group, ERGs, their veterans group came through and donated some funds. We bought 20 new bikes and gave them out to vets. And then they also gave me a wonderful donation this year that allowed me to buy some more bikes and give out to vets. So that's still going on. And then computers. You know, if you don't have a computer, it's very difficult to, if not impossible, to apply for a job. Everything is online. So, you know, vets that don't have computers would normally go to the library, but since COVID, the libraries are pretty much shut down.
Yeah.
And so actually a couple of years ago, but it's more relevant now, I started the Catholic Charities Veterans Computer Project and have wonderful donors that donate used computers. I have volunteers, actually 2 retired IT technicians that volunteer in that program and take the computers, look them over, make sure they work well, hook them up, if they're desktops, hook them up with monitors and keyboards. And we just get, we've given out close to a little over, I think it was 72 computers over the last few years. And yeah, we're up to about 190, I can't remember, 190 some bikes over the last few years. So there's a lot of need out there. And, you know, one of the things that, you know, I've been able to do is discover the barriers and then try and eliminate those barriers to help the vets become successfully employed.
It's interesting, and I think it's good for our board of advisors to learn about, because when you look at the various programs, on the surface of it, there is a mission, yours, veterans employment. But when you get behind that and look at the work that's going on, you're always surprised to learn, or I'm always surprised to learn, what other services you're providing that wouldn't be obvious from the outside looking in. And your bicycle program, your computer program are great examples of that. Mitch, how can the members of the Lake County Board of Advisors be helpful to you and your program or programs?
Well, and certainly the number one thing would be to increase awareness within the Lake County, McHenry County, southeastern Wisconsin area that I serve. Just increase awareness of the program, that I am here to help veterans or any family members of veterans, to find employment. And, through my work within the community, I am in touch with many other veteran service organizations that contribute to mental health, Brushwood Center to artistic needs. There are just a lot of veteran service organizations that I work with and communicate with that help our community. So anything that would get the word out would be helpful. Any volunteering that, either in the computer, the technology world, the bicycle world, the employment world, if you are an employer or know an employer that might want to hire veterans, I would love to talk to them, because the other half of my job, besides meeting veterans, is meeting employers, that have opportunities in this area for employment. So that's always helpful. And my thanks to all of the board members for supporting Catholic Charities and its wonderful mission. And the thing that's really behind what I do is the Catholic Charities mission to serve those in need. And then you don't have to get any deeper than that. If they need something, I try and find a solution to satisfy that need.
Mitch, this was really a great segment and so informative. And to the board members, I won't say anything better than Mitch already did. But boy, if you can throw your energy, your skills, your contacts in support of this program or others within Catholic Charities, certainly veterans we owe so much to. So Mitch, I very, very much appreciate what you do and the people that support your program. And in closing, I just want to thank you again. Thank you for your time. Thanks for agreeing to do this. And if you have, perhaps maybe just to wrap this up, if you have a story that you could share with us, maybe a recent success story with around the employment program that you could share with the group, I'd appreciate it.
Sure. Well, one actually comes to mind that is COVID related. I got a call several months ago from an Air Force veteran who had worked for 25 years as the maintenance technician for a large hotel-related company down in Vernon Hills. And that whole industry was taking a very big hit from everything shut down. And last April or so, he got, he told me he got furloughed, and then essentially waited around to get hired back because he thought he would, or everyone hoped things would get better, but as we know, they didn't. And he was finally laid off in around September. And then he contacted me, I believe in October. And we worked together. He didn't even own a computer. So he was one of the recipients of my computer program. I gave him one and gave him a few lessons. And, one of his kids helped him too, because he never needed a computer in his job.
Sure.
And he hadn't written a resume in 25 years. So we had a pretty steep ramp to climb to get to the point where he was really ready to start the employment search. But, a few weeks later, he had actually a very good resume and some job search skills that we worked on. And then, to make a long story short, a couple months later, he landed a job as the maintenance technician at a large residential mental health facility here in Lake County. And he's gainfully employed right now.
Good for him, and good for you. Mitch, before I let you go, anything that you'd like to add? Have we covered?
Let's see. No, I think we've covered just about everything. It's you know, the veteran community in Lake County is significant, you know, centered around the Lovell Federal Healthcare Center. Great Lakes is here. You know, there are over 35,000 veterans living in Lake County. And, you know, at any given time, under normal circumstances, there was about, you know, 800 or 900 that were looking for employment. I mean, obviously, not all of them. This is just based on the general statistics, you know, from the Labor Department. But you know, there's a need, and I'm so glad Catholic Charities supports this need. My management team in Chicago has just been wonderful, allowing me to branch out and make this program successful.
All right. Well, Mitch, again, thanks for your time. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for agreeing to do this. I look forward to seeing you again soon, my friend.
Same here, Tom. Thank you for everything you do.
Take care, Mitch. Have a good day.
You too.